What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what are, in my opinion, the best performance upgrades for a Tamiya TT02 chassis and TT01 chassis. However, I also have been getting a lot of questions as to what is the best beginner RC car to kind of get your feet wet into the hobby. And I usually recommend to people two brands with four different platforms. First brand being Tamiya. I always recommend the TT01 or TT02 for beginners, and in the HPI range I always recommend the Sprint 2 chassis, the Sprint 2 platform, also as well as the RS4 Sport 3, and I'm talking about electric platforms here. You can also go with Nitro. They have a lot of RTR built cars, however in these days they're a bit harder to find due to supply and stock, but yeah, let's get into it. This is a Tamiya TT02 factory built chassis. So basically this is exactly the same as any RTR Tamiya TT02. The only difference between the factory built and the RTRs is that this doesn't come with a body. So this gives you the flexibility to choose a body of your choice, which I like. And plus you get to save some money. It's usually around $40 to $55 cheaper to get this. I got this for $250 here in the US. You can get it for much cheaper in China and places like that, but you also have to pay shipping. Yeah, the reason I got the factory finished edition is because I already have so many kits that I need to build and I still don't have the time for that. I have many unpainted bodies and a lot of little RC projects that I have to go through. So this is amazing being fully built. I just have to modify it. Keep in mind there's a lot of parts here inside it that are not stock. I have a lot of performance upgrades that I purchased. You get these with all Tamiya models. You have some grease, screws, and I always get rid of these bearings. I completely hate these plastic bearings. I never use them on any kits. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so I have everything taken out of the box right now, and this is what you get basically in terms of the chassis. It's fully built, and again, unlike the TT01, I love the fact that it's completely unhollowed from the bottom. And anyways, let's get to it. The first thing I love to change on these things is the suspension. The stock suspension is, there's no other word for it, pretty crap. I mean, even look at that. It's not good. So what I like to do is go with the oil-filled shocks, but not just any oil-filled shocks. You have a lot of options from Tamiya, but I love to go with the Trf Dampers. Now the only downside to these is that they're really expensive for what they are, because you only get 4 shocks and 4 white springs, which are relatively hard, but not too hard. So what I like to do is I like to get the optional spring set, which gives you an array of colors. I believe it's red, yellow, and blue. Red being softest, yellow being medium, and blue being the stiffest. Yeah, so that's the first thing I like to do. Another one of the primary things I like to do is the bearings. I change the bearings immediately because Tamiya, for some reason, comparing the Tamiya base platform, which is the TT02, compared to, for example, the HPI RS4 platform over there, one thing I really appreciate with HPI is that they use bearings, ball bearings, metal ball bearings everywhere. With Tamiya, I have no idea why they use the plastic ones. They really don't last long, and especially for people who are gonna mess around with these. Like, I build some rally cars every now and then, which I try to make as off-road capable as possible, but with the plastic bearings you have absolutely no chance, and they'll really not work well at all. So this is very, very important. Another thing I like to change is the steering. Okay, I like to put the ball bearing steering system, and this is way better. It has much less play than this, and also it has much less friction. So they don't, the holes don't get bigger and bigger as more friction runs through them. So I just prefer that. This is, for me, in my opinion, this is just to play with the camber of the car, which is great. I don't like these plastic pieces in the middle, the plastic drive shafts, so I immediately go with the aluminum shaft, and it comes as a kit with these wheels and tires, which are great. They're already pre-glued and everything, and they're lovely. but I have one beef with these, and the way Tamiya does it is from factory, there is no foam in these tires that they always give, and that's with all RTR kits. So that's why I don't really recommend these, but of course if you just want to bash around and stuff, they work fine. I'm changing them because I'm probably going to be using a different color scheme compared to the car, so I got different colored rims. So yeah. And another thing that I like to do, especially for the receiver here, I like to always buy these waterproof cases from Amazon or eBay. They're really, really cheap, and they protect the receiver here from any water splashes or dust and things like that. Only downside to this is that if you're running a lot of power and a high voltage lithium battery, they can overheat because they're sealed inside and they don't get air to breathe. But definitely if you're going to be running let's say a relatively medium power setup, then you're going to be okay, you're going to be fine. For these, with regards to power, because it's an RTR kit, I don't like to mess around with them too much because I'm not really looking for top speed or things like that with the TT02 and RS4 platform. Like if I want to go for top speed, I'll go with my Arma Limitless, which can do over 100 and something miles an hour, XO1. I mean, even the RS4 platform over with 3S, with a 3-cell lipo, you can do over 70 plus miles an hour. So with these, I'm looking for more scale driving, and you're going to have a lot of fun with these indoors, outdoors. They're less of a headache, they're cleaner than nitro cars. That's with all electric cars. But the one thing that I wanted to mention that's pretty important to me is the engine here. I don't like this crap tin can engine that comes with the cars. I like to change them immediately because they're very underpowered for them. For a beginner, they're not really underpowered, but for someone like me, I think they're really underpowered, and I don't really like them. When it comes to my engine upgrades on this kit, probably a lot of people might disagree with me in the RC world, but being it original Tamiya, I like to keep it original, and I don't want to go with the brushless system because I noticed I've been running the Tamiya TT01 platform since 2008, and I've noticed that every time I put a brushless motor, the gears here start to wear much faster because of the power. I think for me, with these kits, I love going with a brushed motor system, specifically the Tamiya motors, because I don't need to change the ESC just completely. You just bolt it on and everything is fine. You have two engine choices, in my opinion, the two best engine choices for these kits, depending on what you want to go for. If you're building like a rally car or something that's going to go a little bit off-road, I would go with the TZ because it's more torquey, a little bit less top end, but these are so similar in terms of engines. The RZ has a little bit more top end power, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit higher RPM, even though they are supposed to be very, very similar. So top speed, fast tracks, this one, more torquey off-road, more cornering, more things like that. Definitely the TZ. That's in my opinion. Okay, another thing I like to get, two important things actually. For the front and rear, I get the carbon fiber damper stays. Not because of anything, but because it gives me a lot more suspension settings. So I like that because these things really handle very differently depending on how you tune the suspension, which is very important. I've encountered a little problem with this brand is that when it comes to holding the arms, this one doesn't have the arm holders here. And no matter how good I bring it back, yeah, it's not gonna do the job at the moment, but I can modify this. I can definitely modify it. I tried to see the kit if it has any optional parts that can adapt here, but for now I'm just going to use the plastic stays. So what's left to change on this kit are these, converting them to CVD shafts instead of these dog bone style shafts. I want to get these as adjustable, so you can play with the aluminum adjustable, and probably these as well. But I didn't really worry about the rear too much because there's not as much play as there was when the stock ones were in the front. The aluminum ones kind of fit the space better than the stock plastic ones. I do like the TT02 platform because you can add a fan here, which I did. I put a fan under this little vent over here. And yeah, this one is pretty much ready to go, almost. Just a few things to be changed. And yeah, looking good. I do like to always go with a little bit stiffer. Not that this is very stiff. This is okay. It's on-road use, so it's fine. But I do like to go a little bit stiffer in the rear and softer in the front. And this is not too soft. This is medium, so it's a medium setting, which is pretty good. Another thing I'll say is that these tires are very hard to find now. They're the HPI Racing Super Drift tires, which are basically rubber, unlike the RC car drift tires, which are usually plastic or like a hardened plastic style. These are kind of like the Tamiya tires, the Type D tires, which are like a hard and medium compound, but really hard, properly made for sliding around, but also can be pretty grippy. Not too grippy, but definitely good enough grip. All in all, I'm really happy with this build. Super nice, super realistic look. I love making them very realistic, such as this Subaru with the antennas and stuff, and also that Yaris. I'll get into them later because there's a lot of stuff to explain there, but here it's fantastic. I've taken this beautiful killer body shell of the Evo X that I made. You can get these, actually the killer bodies come pre-painted, some of them. Because I like to modify them and basically do it my way, I usually get them clear shells and I paint them and I install the light kits and everything, because these are all fully functional lights. Not just these two, but also these four that are in the middle. It's also got working brake lights underneath. Really nice realism. I love when they look very realistic, and this thing really looks like it's about to hit a rally stage pretty soon. The interior, I also like detail on the interior. This one from inside, I didn't have time today to finish this, which is the Tamiya optional rally cockpit, which you can basically put inside, and it looks like there's a driver and co-driver inside the vehicle, so it's really nice. Yeah, that's all for today. It was just to talk about the TT02 and what performance upgrades I like to use. Again, very similar to the TT01. This is the TT02 and this is the TT01. I'll take off the shell now and show them side by side, but it's pretty dirty because it's been doing a little bit of off-roading. But yeah, relative to the upgrades, I do the same for the TT01. I mean, TRF shocks and CVD shafts. I like to change everything, not too much of it into aluminum because it does drive different. I have some TT01 and some different chassis that are completely modified to where they have a carbon fiber tray and everything. But then you end up with something like this, which is a complete TRF race car. And I don't really want that because for rally cars like this and for bashing, these are very sensitive. As you can see, you try to bash a little bit, and I would still use 2-cell. I wouldn't use 3-cell. It can handle a little bit of 3S, but with these, they might handle 3S if you're racing on a racetrack, but not for bashing on the streets. And anyways, bashing these on the road, you're gonna really damage the under tray, which is all carbon fiber and things like that. So yeah, back to the TT01. Just put it over there. Yeah, back to the TT01. I keep it very simple. I run it on 2S LiPo. Again, using the 2-cell, I don't put a brushless system here because I've shredded so many gears using brushless motors on TT01s. It's a basher platform. The brushed motor works fine for me. I might do 1 or 2 that are brushless later, but I usually like to leave my brushless engines for more sophisticated kits such as the TRF things that are more advanced than this kind of beginner platform that you can play around with, because it starts out as a beginner platform, but once you've modified it, you can, with the parts that you put on these things, you can buy 2 of these things. So you can go crazy with these kits. I don't like to go way overboard, but I definitely do believe there are many things here that need to be changed. And just before I end the video, I wanted to show you some of the final things that I did. First of which being a switch that I installed on the body, so I can decide when I want the LEDs on versus off. Another thing is the lights that are on the car. Showed that, and the rear lights as well. But not just that. Before, when I was building, I had an issue with the carbon uprights. Now they're installed perfectly with all the proper parts gotten for the car. I did have to adjust some of the distance for the shock absorber to be at a 0 angle. Yeah, the shocks, I decided to go with the white springs as more of like a neutral balance for the car. And that's it, really. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll keep doing every now and then some RC videos on some of the builds. Obviously different scales, different engine types, electric, nitro, even the 5th scale gas or petrol powered cars. But yeah, I will see you guys next time. Ciao.